People tend to demand higher graphics performance without end. We want more powerful consoles. PC gamers, even such as myself, always want better hardware. We demand giant open world experiences. We want multiplayer modes and lots of content to choose from. We want massively multiplayer online games. Gamers always claim they want variety. We chastise games like Halo, Modern Warfare, Gods of War for always being the same kind of game. Sometimes even Mario, Assassin's Creed gets that criticism. Again and again, we demand more diverse games, and yet we still keep buying the same old experiences. This is what leads to YouTubers such as myself having something of a depression at times. Because when people keep on shelling out $50 to $60 for the same old experiences, and then complain when a game is $15 to $20 just because it's quote-unquote indie, something has gone very, very wrong. I mean, sometimes these indie games are reviewed better than the AAA titles, and yet you'll still see people in comment sections on Steam and on YouTube talking about how they had to pay $5 more than they feel they deserve to. And then you have a number of people who have paid for tons of games that they have in their Steam library, and they have never played those games. So let me get this straight. You want giant open worlds with huge amounts of graphical power, and yet you don't want to pay for it. And then when you are willing to pay for it, you always want it to be a cheaper price. And then when you want it to be a cheaper price, you'll buy it and then never play it anyway? Look, I'm not saying that it's everyone who does this, but there are these people out there who do this stuff, and they complain like that. Meanwhile, there are over 100 games that hit the marketplace every single day. 100 games every single day. And over 90% of the games that are released don't generate a profit for the developers who made them. This is the wasteland that we now live in the gaming industry. I mean, sure, there's some companies like GOG that make some level of effort to preserve the old classics, but does anyone else besides me feel like there's less and less new classics being introduced all the time? The gaming industry surpassed Hollywood in total revenue a long time ago, and yet they're so much worse than Hollywood in so many ways. Almost every single top-selling game released is a sequel or some reiteration of an existing franchise. Don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with the classic game franchises like Mario or Zelda or even Call of Duty and Minecraft. It's just that I feel that there's a huge problem with how we either value or don't value the games that do exist outside of those main titles. Try becoming a successful YouTuber or anyone of any noteworthiness at all in the gaming world, and you'll quickly discover just how driven by trends all of the traffic and views are. People have mentioned slow news days in the gaming industry, but if 100 games are being released every single day, then there is no such thing as a slow news day. It's the largest companies with their bank accounts, their online marketplaces, their algorithms all deciding what you ought to watch, what you ought to know about, and what you ought to play in the gaming industry. If it's not YouTube deciding what you ought to watch, it's IGN, it's GameSpot, it's even Sony, Nintendo, and Microsoft. It's whatever company has the largest amount of cash. It's big old money, and it's the same publishers that have been running the industry for decades. Why should it be this way? Why should it be a world where just because something exists on an Apple device, you're not willing to pay more than $1 for that application, even though it might have taken a team of 20 people and thousands of hours to produce with state-of-the-art technology? Who decided that it should be that way? Is it the same people that decided a song is only ever worth 99 cents or maybe $1.29 at the most? If 25 titles can make a top seller list, but we have over 35,000 games that are released every year, then I just have a few questions. Is what you're playing right now all you want to play? Is the gaming news that you're being told right now by the mainstream gaming media all the news in gaming that you want to know about? Is an indie game only ever worth $1 to $20 just because it's quote-unquote indie? And if you had to pay, say, some price like $120 for maybe something like Star Wars Battlefront that's made with state-of-the-art technology and has a huge amount of content, and for that $120, you could get all the content up front with no nonsense and no DLC, would you do it? Would you sit down and play the other games that you have in your library? If you're a PC gamer and you have dozens of games sitting in your Steam library, will you go play those games already? Will you revisit the old titles and remember why they were so great from time to time, while also making an effort to go and discover new games into the future? As someone who loves games, wants to create them, and I've been playing games about my entire life, I just want to see things get better. A good industry simply can't have day one DLC. A good industry simply can't have microtransactions as the primary basis through which you progress in a game that's called a free-to-play title. A good industry can't have only a few brands to choose from and still call itself actually competitive. I want more. And I think if you love games like I do, you ought to want more too. Thank you so much for watching this episode of GameFINITY. If you want to see more here on the Digicades channel about the corruption and terrible practices of the gaming industry so that you can stay informed, remember to like this video, share with your friends on social media, and subscribe. Play on and vote with your wallet. I'll see you next time.